Well, I'm trying not to be too, what's the word? Told you so, if you like. But the Eurovision, according to figures out this morning, had its most disastrous night to date because viewing figures were down by 2.5 million. Still, since Julia's my fellow Daily Mail survey, it's because it was awful.
Well, it was awful, but I wonder also whether the boycott, because people were boycotting it, weren't they? Because so the BBC had a drag queen on telling everyone that she was boycotting it.
Who was boycotting it?
Someone called Crystal, who came on the Newsnight to say
she?
that she was boycotting her North London party because of Israel. So maybe that's why the figures are down.
They cancelled some Eurovision parties in gay bars in
Soho, exactly. So I wonder whether that's what did it.
North London party.
I think the whole of Dalston basically not tuning in is what's caused this massive drop in ratings. But no, seriously, it was awful. I watched every spiss of it just because I was fascinated by it all because of the whole controversy around Israel. I have to say, a lot of those performers needed to go and see a hygienist. I mean, that man who was the Irish entry, who's supposed to be a satanic witch. She does pop witchery or something.
She screeched.
And she screeched a lot, and then took her clothes off. Yeah. And then there was a sort of devil man who was gyrating around her, who obviously hadn't cleaned his teeth in years.
That was the vodka break.
Okay, fine.
That was the vodka break. That's when I went and got the ice.
And then we had the UK entry.
Terrible.
Olly Alexander. Now, Olly Alexander, I should say in his defence, he was brilliant in It's a Sin, which was it Channel 4?
Channel 4. Brilliant.
He was really good in that. He cannot sing. He's not a singer.
No.
I know he was in something called Years and Years.
I remember that.
But I don't know whether that's because they have a studio and then that's easier.
But he was performing with a codpiece, sex in a public lavatory.
I know. I mean, I don't know. This is your department.
Well, I tweeted saying, is this song doing so badly? Because he appears to be glorifying what used to be known as cottaging, where men used to go seek sexual...
didn't George Michael do that?
He did, and got a conviction for it.
Yes, exactly.
And it used to happen before homosexuality was legalised in 1967.
So you had to go to awful places like toilets, but presumably now you don't need to have sex in a toilet.
Well, I never have anyway, by the way.
Exactly.
Just put that on the record.
But I think that... But also the choreography at one point, they were simulating sex.
And why did they have black tongues as well? They need to go to a dentist.
Why were they all dressed as rent boys? Anyway, that's a mystery to me.
I was embarrassed by it.
Well, I
was ashamed of it. I just looked at it and thought, why? Of all the great singers that we've produced in this country, David Bowie, we've had the Rolling Stones,
even Sam Ryder a couple of years ago.
Oh, he was fantastic.
He was great.
He was brilliant.
But why we pick such awful entries? I mean, remember Mae Muller? She hated Britain. She hated Britain as well. Yeah.
And this twit, who was our entry, said that the Union flag is nationalistic.
Yes, but then he was posing in Union flag trousers.
With the bra top.
Yes, exactly.
With the bra top.
And I thought the Israeli entry. I mean, I didn't really like the song. I liked her dress.
But I just voted for it because I
thought the choreography was
I hated
awful,
the way she was besieged in a hotel room.
But I did also think that the Ukraine entry was quite interesting because I know that the Israeli entry got into trouble for referencing the October 7th attacks, and she had to sort of rewrite her stuff because you're not allowed to mention the war or anything like that, which is fine. But then the Ukraine entry was very war. I mean, they had kind of gunfire coming in over her.
The whole thing, there was double standards.
There was quite a lot of that,
I mean, the people outside, the queers of Palestine...
How much are we going to carry on paying for it, though? Because, I mean, the BBC pays the lion's share of it. That's us. Yeah. And we do spectacularly every year.
We do spectacular, but I do think we do need a special mention for Graham Norton. Who was unbelievably good. I can't tell you. His diplomacy is just... I mean, after the Olly Alexander performance, he said something like, well, we'll have to see how that goes down.
Euphemism for that was a disaster.
He is really brilliant. I mean...
And then when we got nil points from the public all around Europe, and he said... Oh, that's harsh.
He's so good.
No, it was justified. It was justified. But are you always a Eurovision fan?
I always say I hate it, and then I always end up watching it. It's like it's just sort of irresistible. I mean, I for example, I really liked the Finnish entry because they did a song about Vikings and stuff like. I like the sort of mad kind of xenophobia of it, and I like all the national costumes. And there's always someone playing a flute. I love it was the Finnish entry that was the man who took his pants off.
He did take his
pants off. Then they had to get him. That was just insane.
Strategically positioned so we couldn't see his.
Only on Eurovision would you see something like that.
As well.
That was in Norway, yes.
Because they went, and they just kept singing. It was like an anthem, and it was fantastic.
It is. Now,